Every time you try to understand why Hitler hated the Jews, you hear the same answers. Because he was illegitimate, because a Jewish doctor neglected to treat his mother, and she died because a Jew raped her. After all, Jews were rich and successful in Germany, but the truth is completely different. Hitler's hatred of Jews was not personal, nor was it due to a tragic story involving one or two Jews. It was the result of a firm belief that the Jews were the true reason Germany lost World War I. That they were the traitors who stabbed the German army in the back, when it was only steps away from victory. In 1919, German armies were still advancing in France and Belgium, completely defeating Russia. European victory seemed close. But suddenly, something mysterious happened inside German cities. Massive strikes erupted in factories that produced weapons and ammunition, and work stopped suddenly, leading to a severe shortage of military supplies. This strike was not spontaneous or merely a result of poverty. It was organized and deliberate, orchestrated by hands that controlled labor unions at the time, Jewish hands. Jewish influence was not limited to the economy and industry, but also extended to the media and the judiciary. Although Jews made up only 2% of Germany's population at the time, they owned 50% of the press and held 70% of judicial positions. They'd played a major role in political and economic life. Through this influence, Jews began spreading what Hitler called moral corruption. In German society, the first theaters for homosexuality were established in Berlin, and Jewish writers produced the first pornographic shows in Europe, as historians themselves acknowledge. Adultery, drugs, pornography, and religious apathy were promoted, all of which threatened the traditional values of conservative German society. In addition, Germany faced major economic collapses. The so-called Jewish usury banks had seized the economy's core, and their manipulation of currency and credit led to a complete collapse in the value of money. Millions of German parents lost their savings and investment opportunities. For Hitler, this was not just an economic downturn, it was a calculated conspiracy to weaken Germany from within. In his book Mein Kampf, Hitler clearly states, "If it weren't for those traitors who don't deserve to live, the German army would have won, and the sacrifice of 1 million German soldiers would not have been in vain." By traitors, he meant the Jews whom he believed had sold their country for their interests, served the interests of Britain and America with loyalty, and contributed to Germany's downfall, after it had been one of the world's strongest nations. As for Hitler's personal life, it wasn't marked by wealth or success. He was born in April 1889 in the Austrian town of Braunau to a customs officer named Alois Hitler. He was not originally German, but Austrian of German descent. His father was harsh and constantly scolded him, which affected his education. He left school at 16 without a diploma. He dreamed of becoming an artist and applied twice to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, but was rejected both times. He started selling his paintings on the streets, but no one bought them until a Jewish art dealer came along, liked his paintings, and bought them at a low price. This Jew would later sell these paintings at high prices to Vienna's elites, while Hitler remained in poverty and deprivation. He returned to his mother, who was suffering from cancer, and she died when he was 18, marking the end of a difficult period full of disappointment and loss. Then decided to move to Germany to start a new chapter. In 1914, World War I began after the assassination of the Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand by a Serbian nationalist. Austria declared war on Serbia. Then Russia entered the war against Austria, and Germany declared war on Russia and Serbia, turning the conflict into a global war. At that time, Hitler was living in Munich and considered the German and Austrian peoples as one. So he volunteered for the German army. He served as a dispatch runner, one of the most dangerous jobs in war, as it involved running between trenches under fire to deliver military orders. The survival rate for dispatch runners rarely exceeded 3 weeks, but Hitler lasted for years, a testament to his skills as a soldier. While the German army was making great advances in France and had taken control of a third of its territory and fully defeated Russia, the Allies managed to turn the tide, not on the battlefield, but from within. A British Jewish plan was put into action, starting when British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour promised Jews a national homeland in Palestine if they helped the Allies defeat Germany. Thus, Jews began weakening Germany from the inside by halting weapons production and spreading false propaganda in newspapers claiming that the German army had been defeated and that soldiers were deserting the front lines. This propaganda, coupled with ammunition shortages, forced the German army to halt its offensive. The Allies exploited this by launching a counterattack on August 8, 1918, largely funded by Jewish groups. This led to the defeat of the German army and nullified all its previous victories. During this period, Hitler suffered several injuries and a temporary disability after the Allies used banned gases. But the Red Cross rescued him and transferred him back into Germany, where he survived, while hundreds of thousands of German soldiers were slaughtered. After Germany's defeat, it became an easy target for the victorious countries. They imposed humiliating terms under the Treaty of Versailles, dismantling the military, banning aircraft and tank production, and placing a massive debt on Germany. Additionally, Germany was split in two by the so-called Danzig Corridor, which connected Poland to the Baltic Sea. The new German government, under Allied influence, accepted all these terms without objection. In this charged atmosphere, the Allies gave Jews more space to infiltrate German society, further increasing moral decay. Drug use, homosexuality, pornography, and other previously unheard of phenomena. During this period, Hitler began to emerge politically, and after years of struggle and organization, he founded the Nazi Party in 1933. From that point on, began implementing his program to rebuild Germany, and above all, to eliminate what he called the internal cancer, the Jews. Hitler defined Nazi rule with principles that included military expansion and the extermination of races he considered polluted. Foremost among them, the Jews, followed by the Roma, homosexuals, and anyone who differed from German society in race or culture. The Nazis began by establishing the first concentration camp in Dachau, Germany, with the first 200 inmates being Jews. Then they banned Jewish newspapers, closed Jewish businesses, and confiscated their money and financial assets. Later, Hitler ordered a curfew on Jews and forced them to hand over their radios to the police. After invading Poland in 1939, the Nazis began deporting German Jews there, placing over 1 million Polish Jews under Nazi rule. By early 1941, the Nazis forced Jews to live in isolated areas known as ghettos. Later, mass deportations from these ghettos to concentration and extermination camps began. The killings started with the sick, elderly, weak, and children. The extermination was carried out by the Nazi Party under Hitler's leadership, with Jews as the primary targets. The Holocaust claimed the lives of around 6 million Jews, along with other groups such as Roma and the disabled. What happened during that period wasn't a result of simple personal hatred, but a consequence of historical accumulations, violent ideology, and Hitler's deep conviction that Jews were the true internal enemy that had to be eradicated to build a greater Germany.